Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Character Workshop, and I gladly welcome you all to Aard-pril. So basically, throughout the month of April, every Came From England episode that I'll be doing will be taking a look at a production made by Aardman Animations, since this year is the 50th anniversary of the company's founding, and this month is April, and the company was founded on April 1972, so I think it's very fitting for me to do an entire month worth of Aardman-related discussions and reviews in honor of the company's 50th anniversary. And for this first episode, I'm going to start things off short, and I mean literally short, by talking about a short film of theirs. Well, it wasn't just a short film, it kind of became like a much bigger thing later on. I wouldn't say that much bigger. It got like a little like mini-series afterwards, but today we're going to be talking about a little simple production of theirs called Pib and Pog. Now, funny enough, this series was actually suggested to me by one of my fans by the name of John McIntyre, who has made, over the years, I've made multiple requests for It Came From England for me. One in particular, I think, he's been pestering me about, and I honestly don't really want to do it because of the amount of times he's requested me to do it. But I will be doing this, this Pig and Pog... Did I say pig? Pib and Pog suggestion that he did. And plus, when it comes to this show, I have, seen this show in the past prior to doing It Came From England. I've watched the whole series, on YouTube several years ago. Honestly, I didn't really think too much of it at the time, and I rewatched the whole series again just for the purpose of this episode, so let us dive deeper into what Pib and Pog is all about. So basically the format of Pib and Pog, basically the show is meant to be set up as sort of a parody of like a preschool show, which obviously that wasn't the first time I talked about something like that. And of course throughout the show there's this off-screen narrator who, speaks in a soft voice, who translates what both Pib and Pog say, and the way they do their voices is like, kind of, strange, it's all like, wah, 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 wah. That's kind of my best impression of like what they sound like, but that's kind of how their voices sound. And basically, as the show goes on, it gradually sort of turns into, black comedy and dark humor, where the characters, attempt to harm each other in like, various ways, whether it's like, simplistic or gruesome in some areas. But yeah, that's basically the gist of, Pib and Pog. But now time to talk about all the episodes of the show. So Pib and Pog actually originated as a one-time 6-minute animated short film that came out in 1995 on Channel 4, and it was directed by a guy by the name of Peter Peak, who is also the writer. And of course, it was produced by a variety of people, including Carla Shelley and David Sproxton, and Peter Lord, which Sproxton and, Lord were both executive producers, while Carla was just a normal producer. And basically the plots of the original short film basically kind of goes into, what I just said earlier about the main synopsis of each episode. Basically, like, throughout this entire short, Pib and Pog often do, like, a variety of different, like, harmful things to each other, like shooting each other in the stomach with guns, which, funny enough, at that part of the short when, like, Pib first pulls out a gun at a pub, that's, I don't know, that just, like, caught me off guard the first time I watched it, but, yeah, it was funny, when I saw it. Other things they did to each other, they, kicked each other in the butt, they stuck each other's heads in concentrated sulfuric acid, they sawed each other in half, and at the very end they were like trying to blow up each other with cannons, sort of like, try to swap, the cannon around to like try to shoot one another, and they both ended up, getting exploded at the very end. Is getting exploded even a phrase? I don't think it is. But anyway. And then as the show comes to a close, when they sing their little song, you hear, a director in the background saying, cut, and then, like, after the show is finished, the, Pib and Pog, get, out of character, and, they're actually revealed to be actors, and they actually, talk unlike, their childlike counterparts, And of course, they reveal themselves to be, you know, a little bit older and grumpier than the characters that they portray. And basically, think of like any like show where like a character is played as like a fictional character, and then, you know, they get out of character and they, you know, just are a normal person. That's basically what, you know, the very end of Pib and Pog was. So yeah, that was basically the original short in a nutshell. In terms of awards and recognition, it didn't receive too many. It was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Animated Short Film. However, it did win the Edinburgh International Film Festival Award for Best New British Animation, which... that last one I've never even heard about, but... hey, at least Pib and Pog got some sort of recognition. And we wouldn't be seeing Pib and Pog for another 11 years up until 2006, where the show was brought back, but, you know, was kind of more of a series, I guess you can kind of say. Well, actually a mini-series, because it only had, like, 5 additional shorts. So, these were made in association with the BBC, and when they first came out, they were able to watch on a website called Atom Films, before, of course, it was absorbed into ComedyCentral.com, I guess. So the format of the series, per se, works very similarly to the original shorts. You hear the narrator in the background, you know, kind of narrating the story and also translating what Pib and Pog say. And obviously there's, like, you know, black comedy going on where the characters, you know, hurt each other in various, you know, graphic ways. And yeah, unlike the short, it actually doesn't show them, like, you know, off camera when they're, like, actually real. But there were like 5 shorts that were made, you know, for the miniseries. The first one was where Pog went to the dentist because, you know, he, I guess, had a toothache, and Pib was the dentist, and, you know, he was able to remove the tooth from Pog and started, like, you know, adding fillings in there, but he added too much filling to the point where, like, Pog's mouth was just like... Now I see why. Now I can kind of see the origin of, like, where the word Pog comes from. I guess. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Let's see, the next episode was called Peter's Room, where Pib and Pog find a tin which had a chocolate inside it, and Pib decided to eat the chocolate, but it then started making him sick, almost throwing up. But before he was able to throw up, Pog actually came in and got some staples, stapled Pib's mouth. But of course it wasn't enough for Pib to, like, stop vomiting, because eventually his eyes popped out and then the vomit came out. So there's that one. But that weird thing about that particular episode is the fact that they mentioned a person named Peter, and it makes me think, who the hell is Peter? Like, this character, this so-called off-screen character was never brought up in any other shorts again. And maybe they were planning on having this, like, you know, character be mentioned or actually shown at some point in the show, but seeing that there were only 5 shorts, I guess they weren't able to do so. So, for short number 3, there was the X Factor, which, you know, obviously makes a huge reference to the show The X Factor, where at the start of the episode, Pib was auditioning to become a contestant for the X Factor, and Pog decides to play along and, you know, pretend to be Simon Cowell, who the narrator describes as a nice person, ironically. And while Pib was, you know, performing, you know, Pog gives Pib some negative feedback, so to retaliate, Pig then blows Pog's head off with a microphone. So now for the 4th shorts, which is simply titled The Kitchen, where Pog makes a cake, but Pib wants some, so Pog then eventually, rather than giving Pib the cake, he gives him the whisk to lick it off, but Pib's tongue gets stuck in the whisk. So then, after Pib was able to get the whisk off his tongue, he retaliated by cutting Pog's face off with a knife, and it lands in the cake, and Pib, of course, mentions to the narrator that he did kind of his own reverse take of, like, pie in the face in the pie. That was a pretty clever one, I will admit. And for the final short that they did for Pib and Pog was simply called Dad's Study, where Pib and Pog ended up finding a porno tape in Daddy's study, which, what is a study? Hold on, let me look this up real quick. Alright, so according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, one definition for study is a building or a room devoted to study or literary pursuits. Kind of makes me wonder what that dad was studying, if you know what I mean. And by the way, since they mentioned this person was named Daddy, is he Pib's dad? Is he Pog's dad? Are they brothers? Like, there are so many things that they've mentioned in the shorts that, like, aren't brought up. And honestly, I don't think about it. It makes me, like, question it even more. But anyways, continuing on with the plot of the episode. So, they find the porno DVD, and of course, they didn't know it was a porno. Pib, of course, thought it was, like, some sort of, like, treasure because the 3X is on there. And then Pog thought it was, you know, something about the seaside, but they ended up watching it, and let's just say it's definitely not what they expected, and they turned off the film, and Pib then threw the disc into the air, and it pierces, you know, the top of Pog's head at the very end. So yeah, all in all, that was Pib and Pog. Got not much else to say about it. I mean, it's a decent series, I would say. Probably would give it maybe, I don't know, 6 out of 10 if I was to give it a score, but obviously I don't score a lot of things on the Came From England besides, you know, the Doctor Who episodes. So, I mean, a decent show, but of course it, you know, like, Pib and Pog, you know, has done, like, a lot of things that, like, you know, some, like, you know, cartoon parodies before and even after have, you know, have also done. Like, for example, like, when I think of Pib and Pog, I often think of Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons. They're kind of done in a very similar way, except, you know, it's, like, 99% of the time one-sided, where, you know, Itchy does, like, all the killing, and Scratchy, you know, ends up being on the bad end of the stick. But with Pib and Pog, you know, both of them sort of, you know, get the bad end of everything, you know. They each, like, get a turn of, like, you know, something bad happening to them. And, of course, as I mentioned before, you know, that this show was meant to be sort of like a parody of a preschool show, and of course it ends up being dark humor later on. Heavily reminds me of what Don't Hit Me, I'm Scared ended up being, which I've talked about that show way early in the show of It Came From England. I've talked about it way back in the first season. Which kind of had a very similar, like, feel to it, I guess. Of course, you know, Don't Hit Me, I'm Scared, you know, their episodes were a lot longer, and, you know, actually had some sort of a story to it. Pib and Pog was just, you know, simple, violent fun, I guess. And plus, I mean, the one thing that I will say Pib and Pog does that, like, you know, those other two shows that I mentioned, you know, have never done, kind of, you know, having the characters, you know, break out of character and, you know, sort of become, you know, actors, basically. You know, that part I actually kind of appreciate. Although that's also, you know, a trope that's, you know, been done multiple times. Not to say you can't do it, of course, but, you know, it's a thing, you know, whatever. But yeah, with that being said, that's about it for this episode of It Came From England, and also the first episode of Aard-pril. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my little review and discussion of Pib and Pog. If you guys did, feel free to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more episodes of It Came From England, or just mediocre plush content in general. Hopefully you're looking forward to more Aard-pril videos throughout the month. Definitely got a couple more plans. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. That's about it. This is Tyler from the Character Workshop, signing out. Next time on Aard-pril, we're going to be talking about a kid who's angry. Okay, that's a little bit misleading. He's actually not that angry, it's just his name. So, you'll know about it when the next episode comes around.